we're back. Guys, Ian Wilson from QTips, and we're just following on from our previous tutorial where we created this snazzy layout in QGIS, and we turned on the satellite imagery from the OpenStreetMap layers. Now, something I want to do just before we carry on, I'm just going to firstly turn off my Google satellite imagery from the streaming, because that's delaying the refresh rate every time I drag. It wants to re-render, which is slowing things down a bit, so I've turned that layer off. So we're going to open this up in Google Earth, but before that we do that, I want to add a couple new fields here for the geometry of the shapefile, for area and squares, and then perimeter. And we can use a nice little tool for that under the vector menu. So if we go to our vector menu, and we need to select, is it data management, I think it's geometry tools. Okay, here it is down here, export and add geometry columns. Select that, and we're going to use our layout poly as the layer, and the layer coordinate reference system, that is fine, and it's going to create a temporary layer for us. Now what we can do is we can save it to file, and I'm just going to go and save it to file in working and just call it geom for the geometry. So we'll save that and run it. Okay, so it's created a new layer. Now it's given a title in the table of contents. It's not the same as the actual name of the layer. If you just double check that, you'll see the name is actually layout poly geom, not added geom info. So we can actually just rename this and call it layout final, for instance. And if we open it up, it should have two new geometry columns in meters squared. There we go. Okay, so we're going to check that most of them are probably going to be around 700 meters squared, which is exactly what we were looking for as a minimum for these sites. Some of them are a little more or less than that, which is maybe a compromise to be made or to be corrected. You can redo this layout and tweak things to make those slightly bigger, bearing in mind that we might end up losing properties because of the constraint that we have with the flood layer here. Just add that flood layer. It's nice to have. Go back and physical flood. There we go. So there's that 100-year flood layer. Okay, so we've gone ahead and created a new layer. If I want to transfer all this info onto that one, use the same styles, we can go to styles and copy that style, right click on the new layer and just paste that, and then this one can be removed. Okay, so that was a quick way, and it hasn't only taken the colors, it's taken through the labeling as well. And something else you might want to do, so now for instance, if you want to send this to someone and you want them to be able to open it in QGIS with the same styling, then what you'll do is you go to properties, and under your style option at the bottom, so you select the layer in the table of contents, right click and you say properties, you come down here and you say style, save layer style. So then what we go to do is go back to working, and we're going to call it needs to be called the exact same, given the exact same name as the actual shapefile. So we're going to call this one layout poly geom. So I'm getting attacked by a cat here. Okay, and we're happy with that. Say okay, and okay, and then if we delete this, remove this, and add that layer from scratch. Now it should come in all colored up. Okay, so that's another nifty way you can share your style. And then you might just need to rename this again, which was final. Okay, and that's where we came from. We came from our little scanned image, and we now have a layout that we can share with the client. Okay, so what did I say we're going to do? We're going to take this into Google Earth. So let's do that. So let's open up Google Earth. And the native file format for Google Earth is a KMZ and KML, but you can add other data. So we want to open, and then you just go to your folder. You can add other info like shapefiles. So let's select shapefile, polygeom, say open, and then there's an option to set the styles before you go in. You can create a new template, and so this is a little look at the attribute table for your shapefile, and it's going to ask us, okay, what do we want to use as a name? So for the name, I think we should use earth number, and the color, we're going to use some random colors. So it's going to randomize the colors. Oh, if we're happy with that, let's say OK. And this is the style which we've just created. Select OK, and it's going to zoom us into the new shapefile. You can see it's still off here in the table of contents, but when we turn that on, we should be there. So not ideal. I mean, it prefer that if it was transparent. Let's see if we can do that here. Just make the opacity 50. There we go. Okay, so you can share that with people who don't have QGIS, people who have only have Google Earth. You can share that same layer with them, even as a shapefile. So you don't necessarily have to export it to a KML from QGIS. Cool. Okay, so that was just a quick full circle taking us back to Google Earth with that layer. And just to reiterate, if you didn't come in with the first tutorial, this piece of land is the land exists, but the project does not exist. It's a fictitious project which I created just as an example to demonstrate some CAD tools in QGIS, and then along the way we also demonstrated some other tools, and we had a look through the georeferencing, and then also some of the editing tools, creating that polygon. And yeah, I hope it's been a fairly useful series of tutorials for you. And if you'd like to see more tutorials like this, I'm going to try and upload a few every now and then when I can, when work permits. So keep an eye out for those, and see you next time. Cheers.